Namaskar. The first sutra was a bold statement about the intensity of the sudden inspiration, or the overwhelming state leading to realization of one's own true nature, Svarupa. The second sutra literally picks up the thread and expands it. Tallabhat yogapat vritti pravritti. What happens by such an achievement? Attainment of that tallabhat means of the innermost nature and of the great suddenness. Here we find a difference in the formulation of the sutra as transmitted by the commentator and as Swami Lakshmanju has understood it in the clear statement which I accept. Let us first listen to the introductory sentence by the commentary. Quote, having explained the oral transmission of the direct experience of the great intensity, Mahasahasa Charcha Sampradaya, consisting in the sudden attainment of the true nature, which has no characteristic sign and gradually transcends everything. Now they, it always says in plural, means the yoginis or the Piteshwaris, the deities of the Pitas. They reveal the simultaneity of the great fusion or unification of essence, samarasya, of all modes or activities or states. This is a wonderful sentence explaining what is now coming. Again, Sutra 2, Tallabhat yogapat vritti pravritti. In my simple translation, by attaining that, bracket nature or mahasahasa, there is simultaneously the expansion of all modes or states. Now, all depends on how we translate vritti and pravritti. Swamiji, when I say Swamiji, I mean Swami Lakshmanju. His translation, which I have received from a handwritten manuscript, quote, by that achievement, simultaneously one feels the entry of all senses in their expanded state of universal consciousness. He takes vritti as individual consciousness, the activity of the senses, pravritti as expansion or establishment in universal consciousness. So his translation immediately places us in the domain of practice and experience. An important characteristic of this entire spirituality is simultaneity. It is an aspect of overcoming the sequentiality and bondage of time. This could be illustrated by a number of dharanas of the Vijnana Bhairava, where either spontaneously or by a meditation one enters into a state of simultaneously experiencing, for example, that the body and the universe are filled with bliss, or another dharana says are filled with consciousness. Such an experience can happen spontaneously, without any preparation. Or it can be the result of a meditation. And then there are other dharanas, for example, to merge all the senses in the space of the heart. This is a meditation. It is a meditation, but merging all the senses is also a simultaneous happening. Now Swamiji gives again another meaning of vritti and pravritti. He identifies them with the states of turiya and turiyatita. Now we know in all the system of Indian spirituality there are 3 or 4 states of consciousness: jagat, swapna, sushupti, waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and the 4th is the transcendent state which we experience in samadhi. Now in Kashmir Shaivism there is a fifth, but we don't call it fifth, it is not a number, but it is that which transcends the fourth, Turiya Tita. And Turiya Tita is actually the state of the Jivan Mukta, because he pervades all the four states with the divine consciousness. There's no difference. He can be in activity or can be sleeping or dreaming. His state is always in divine consciousness. Now, normally we count, and that is why it is called the fourth, from waking to dreaming to deep sleep to the fourth, and then it would be again a step ahead to the Turiya Tita. But here it is simultaneously, so that all the states are simultaneously one with the transcendent state. And now consider the interpretation by Ananta Shaktipada. Quote, by attaining one's true nature, which has been described before as consisting of an absorption in the state of great intensity, one simultaneously, meaning at the same time, transcends all the movements of the senses, which are like rays of consciousness, and of emotions like attachment, aversion, etc. By attaining the true nature which transcends and swallows all conceptions of time and no time, one is led to a state of the innermost divine nature, Svasvarupa. There is a gradual between Swarupa, which is one's true nature, and Svasvarupa, which is the ultimate divine nature. That is pravritti, and reaches the state of absorption in it. Thus, this complex statement of the sutra means that all the activities of the senses and emotions are always and only established in a state of arising by the dissolution of all their mutual differences and staying in the transcendent abode of the great emptiness, being one with it. This expression, dissolution of all the mutual differences, paraspara vibheda vigalanena. The tantric authors, they love this word vigalana. They don't like any expression which means suppressing, but just dissolving, just like ice becomes again water. So vigalana means just merging, dissolving. So dissolving all these mutual differences and pairs of opposite. End of the quote. This last statement is of importance, the overcoming of opposites by merging and establish them in the great void. When we use the translation transcending, it sounds very abstract, but there are two expressions which are very lively. One is ullankana, which we found in the second Mangala shloka. Ullanga means, the basic meaning to jump over, to cross over, and even to transgress. Sometimes it also has the meaning to transgress some simple rules of society, etc. The second is a frequent expression in the texts dealing with the overcoming of time, alamgrasa. Alamgrasa literally means to swallow, to devour. In the language of Tantra, many spiritual expressions are taken from the context of food, like also chavana, chewing, like digesting, which also has an application in aesthetic experience, where you experience something beautiful and then you chew it, you absorb it. It's a kind of absorbing. As far as the overcoming of time is concerned, there's a clear difference between the saying of the Mahabharata that time cooks all the beings, kalu pachati. And here, in the sense of making them grow, mature, decay, and die. And the trika and krama, understanding and practice, where it is precisely the yogi or practitioner who swallows time, and the result is the experience of simultaneity. Now, by absorbing all the activities and states, and by dissolving all pairs of opposites and dualities, there happens entry in the great void. Mahashunya is the same as Shunya Atishunya, the transcendent void, which, as analyzed by Swamiji, according to the tradition, is at the same time non-void. Maha Ashunya, hence fullness.